Hey everyone, and welcome back to Joey's Retro Newscast. It's Friday, so here's all of your retro gaming, retro handheld, and gaming news. I said that right? It's been a while. Did you miss me? I missed you. I don't know what you guys have been doing for the last few weeks on Fridays, but every Friday I was like, man, I really missed the newscast and doing it for everybody. But we're back, and I'm back from my vacation, so I'm all rested. I'm ready to go. Of course, there wasn't a lot of news while I was gone, so it's not a big deal. We have a lot of news to go over today, so let's just jump right in. Do you want to play SmackDown versus Raw 2007, but you don't have an Xbox 360? Well, there is a recomp project that runs on Windows. So you can play the game right now on Windows if you wanted to, at a stable 60 FPS with a whole bunch of new updates and things like that. This is pretty cool. I haven't played a wrestling game in a long while, but if this is your wrestling game, then jump in, play it on Windows. Sega Chihiro, I don't know if I'm saying that right, is making a lot of progress for emulation. So for those that don't know what this is an Xbox-based arcade board. So a lot of games like House of the Dead 3, Ghost Squad, Virtua Cop 3, Outrun 2, and so on. A lot of like shooters, light gun games, things like that. But the only way that you could play a lot of those right now is with Technoparrot on PC. And that's mostly because Sega Chihiro emulation hasn't been that great. But it looks like we are getting some updates towards low-level emulation of Chihiro inside of XMU, which is the Xbox emulator. So far right now, 6 games are playable with 0 patches, they say, and that is for light gun games and all of that. This is actually really interesting. This is right up my personal alley as a light gun enthusiast. I guess I joined the light gun enthusiast crowd this month. But yeah, so if you're interested in this, check it out. Sega Chihiro, pretty cool. Do you have a Magic X Mini 028 and do you want to install NextUI, the custom firmware on it? Well, you can now. There is an alpha build that has been forked for NextUI on the Magic X Mini 028. This is like the most accurate fit to a device that I could see. The Mini 028 is awesome. I actually really like it, but Android can be a hit and miss for a lot of people on it. Not so much for me, but a lot of people don't like it. NextUI is the perfect fit for a device this size and something that's in your pocket. So if you want to check out NextUI on the Magic X Mini 028, check out this fork by Thwomp. I don't know how to say that, but they're doing good work. That's it for software news, but we have a lot of device news that we'll get to. First, though, we have the question of the week. This one took me a while to think of. I couldn't decide on what question I wanted to talk about this week, but it's a good one. Are you more in the gaming side of this hobby or the handheld side of this hobby? My question comes because obviously people buy a lot of handhelds. There are collectors out there that buy every single handheld that comes out and they don't do much with them. But then there's people who are buying 1 or 2 handhelds or maybe upgrading one handheld continuously, but they're playing a lot of games. So I want to know what side of the fence you are on at least. Or is it 50-50? Do you play a lot of games while also buying a lot of handhelds? I am more on the gaming side of things. I buy handhelds that expand the number of games I can play or improve those games more so than buying like 10 different handhelds and then using each one and playing a different system on them and all that sort of thing. I'm not that type of person. I want 1 or 2 handhelds that'll play everything, and I'm good with that. Because for me, it's all about gaming. I'm here to play games. That's what I want to do. The handhelds are the venue or the avenue for me to play those games. They're not the sole focus for me. I could lose all my handhelds and I just go play games on PC. That's how I'm at. But handhelds are a lot more comfortable for me to be able to play on my couch or anywhere I want and go out in the world and travel. Like I just traveled with my AYN Thor on a plane and over to Europe, and that was great. It was awesome. So for me, handhelds have their place, but they're not the sole focus, despite the fact that the channel name is Joey's Retro Handhelds. It's really more about the games for me. Let me know in the comments, where do you stand? If you remember, a few weeks ago, we talked about how Amberdick was releasing a new color for the Amberdick RG34XX SP called Metallic Blue. And it looks awesome. To me, like in person, I saw the pictures when they announced it, but in person, this looks amazing. These are not my pictures. These are pictures I found from Reddit. makes me want to grab an RG34XXSP. However, before you do the same thing that I want to do, you might want to know that there is currently some issues with the Anbernic RG34XXSP. You might recall that they had a downgrade from RAM from 2 gigabytes to 1 gigabyte RAM. Well, apparently, and this is one person right now, I don't know of any other news stories about this, they have downgraded it again to 512 megabytes of RAM. So heavily downgrading the Anbernic RG34XXSP. I don't know much about this. This is one person's investigation into their unit, and it looks like they bought other units that didn't have this problem. So I don't know if it's a one-off or not, but if this is the route that Anbernic is going, this is not very good. 512 megabytes of RAM, even for a device like this, it's not great. Plus having the fact that it's the same price, but we are losing so much. So keep an eye out on this story and what's happening. If I hear more, we'll talk about it next week, but it's not a good look right now. 1X Player is coming out with a new device called the 1X Player 3, which is one of the first that is going to have the Intel Arc G3 Extreme processor, the new one, that is showing up in a lot of different handhelds. We'll talk about a few other ones in a few other stories. But the 1X Player 3 is going to have that processor with a 144 Hz OLED display. It's an 8.8 inch and an 85 watt hour built-in battery. This is going to be 1X's new device alongside the X2 Mini, which I guess they're announcing and releasing too. We talked about that a few weeks ago, but this has the same screen as that one. So it's the 8.8 inch OLED, 144 Hz VRR screen and all of that. So I don't know. This even has removable controls, it looks like. So it's the same handheld. Am I missing something here? Somebody let me know in the comments. What am I missing here? The 1X Player 3 and the X2 Mini, they look to be the same. What am I missing? Is it the removable battery? I'm trying to think about it right now. Is it the removable yeah, okay. So the 1X Player 3 has a built-in battery, which will make it super heavy. And the X2 Mini, I believe, had the removable battery. Is that the only difference between them? I don't know. But anyways, if you're interested, keep an eye out for the new 1X Players. Next up, in devices that are going to be using that same Intel G3 Extreme processor, is the Acer Predator Atlas 8. Yes, Acer is coming out with a new handheld. And if you remember, they did try to do one way back when with the Nitro Blaze 7, I think it was called, which I don't know if it actually released. I was at CES when they announced it, tried to find their booth to talk to them, and they didn't exist. So I don't think anybody actually did anything with that. But they're back here, maybe with an actual release with the Predator Atlas 8, using, again, the Intel Arc G3 Extreme. Now, this is a pretty big handheld. It is using the 8-inch 1920 by 1200 16 by 10 aspect ratio VRR screen, 120 Hz, that MSI Claws were using and the Apex uses and all of that. So it's a pretty decent screen. It's not OLED or anything like that, but I think they want to keep costs down this year if they're releasing handhelds. Up to 24 gigabytes of RAM, up to 1 terabyte hard drive. So it looks like there's probably going to be a few different SKUs. There is a whole bunch of different things here, an 80 watt hour battery, and so on. It is, I guess, interesting. I don't know if I trust Acer to come in and have a good handheld in the sea of Asus and Lenovo and MSI and all of that. But hey, new Acer Predator Atlas 8 coming out pretty soon. And I guess we'll find out more soon. Speaking of MSI, they are the third company using the Intel Arc G3 Extreme, coming out with the new MSI Claw 8. What is this called? Because they are stopping me from looking at this. MSI Claw 8 EXAI Plus gaming handheld. It's got a whole new design. The display sticks out a little bit more. It looks like it's a little different for controls and all of that. Might be comfier than the Claw 8 was. I wasn't super happy with the comfort on it. So it looks like it might be comfier, a little bit bigger and all of that. But yeah, this is all being announced at Computex. So they have it there and you can see it. But we'll find out more as we go on as to pricing and all of that on all of these handhelds, which is more or less going to be out of pretty much everybody's price range, I expect. Speaking of out of everybody's price range, the Steam Deck OLED just got a price increase. And you might be thinking, oh, maybe it's just like $25, $50, $100. But no, it is a lot more than that. The 512 gigabyte OLED model went from $549 to $789, which is $250 more. And the 1TB OLED went from $649 to $949, which is $300 more. I guess at this point we can retire the just buy a Steam Deck bro comment, right? Like there's just no point. In Canada, at least, you can buy an Xbox Ally X refurbished from Best Buy cheaper than either of these models. Or no, cheaper than the 1TB, I think. Whatever it is. Anyways, you buy the Xbox Ally X. It's a lot better of a handheld. But I think this is the death knell of Steam Deck at this point. As somebody who doesn't really like the Steam Deck, but understands the importance it's played in the handheld market, it is a little bit different for me because I thought the Steam Deck has been dead for like a few years now, but I think this is finally the death punch here. I do want to point out that this was probably the worst way they could handle a price increase. It is weird in 2026 to praise Nintendo of all companies for making the right decision. But I mean, they kind of did, right? Like they announced a price increase and they're giving months of advance notice up till September, I think it is, for you to buy their Switch 2 before that price increase goes up. Whereas Valve is kind of like, all right, prices increased, too bad. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that probably would have jumped on this to grab it at the old price. Now it is sold out and a lot of people are pointing towards the fact that people still bought it even though it's sold out, but you don't know how many units were actually available. That's why sold out metrics never make sense. You don't know how many units are available. If you knew how many units, that's a different story, but you never know. Could have been 5 units up there and all gone, but whatever. Anyways, the bigger thing here that a lot of people are pointing towards is what is the price of the Steam frame and the Steam machine going to be now if this is the price of the Steam Deck OLED? Which, as somebody who never expected either of those things to be cheap, I think that they're going to be pretty expensive, which probably means that they are going to be delayed or whatever. But I think they're still coming out. We'll find out what those prices are pretty soon. I think the Steam frame is already in hands of some people, from my understanding, but I don't know about the Steam machine. But anyways, we'll find out more pretty soon. Sucks. Okay, and as always, we are now voting on our Game of the Month and ROM Hack of the Month for June. We are just ending this month. And if you want to come vote, because it's the perfect time to do so, you can come join the Discord and vote on some games. If you're curious what our Games of the Month votes are, or nominees, I guess, Castlevania for the NES, Crash Bandicoot, The Huge Adventure for GBA, Kirby Superstar for Super Nintendo, Little Big Planet for PSP, Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney for DS, Pikmin for GameCube, Ratchet & Clank Up Your Arsenal for PS2, Silent Hill for PS1, Wario Land for Game Boy, and Wave Race 64 for Nintendo 64. For ROM hacks, Celeste Mario Zap and Dash for NES, Crash Team Grand Prix, is that what it, I don't actually know what the acronym is for that. We're going to go with CTGP Nitro for DS, Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi, I've never said that out loud, for PS2, Kirby's Halloween Adventure for NES, Mega Man X3 Zero Project for Super Nintendo, New Super Mario World 1, The 12 Magic Orbs for Super Nintendo, Paper Mario Black Pit for Nintendo 64, Pokemon Emerald Rogue V2 for Game Boy Advance, Sonic the Hedgehog Mega Mix for Mega Drive, and Super Mario 64 Last Impact for Nintendo 64. I will say it was pretty sad that Poke Emblem got retro achievements right after we did all these voting, because that would have been one of the ones that we could vote on for ROM hacks. If you don't know what Poke Emblem is, it is Fire Emblem with Pokemon. If that sounds like it's interesting to you, you should go check it out. It is a new ROM hack. Not new, it is a new ROM hack that got retro achievements. So if you're interested in that, check it out. I have played a little bit of it. It's actually pretty cool. So you could play it. If you're curious what I have been playing over the last few weeks on trip and coming back, I played a lot of Pokemon Lazarus, which is a ROM hack on my flight and while I was on vacation. I also played a lot of Sea of Stars. I had to get back to where I lost my save. I played a lot before on the Xbox Game Pass, but that is where my save is. And then they removed it from Game Pass, so I couldn't get my save off of it, which means I had to restart on Steam. It's a whole big thing. But since coming back, I have been playing Forza Horizon 6, which is fantastic. 007 First Light, which is also fantastic, and Lego Batman, which has been also fantastic. I am just deep into these games, which have been great because they all came out while I was on vacation, so I didn't get a chance to play them. I come back to 3 different games that are awesome that I need to get to and finish before Adventures of Elliot comes out in middle of June. So yeah, what have you guys been playing? Any of those games? They've been awesome. So hopefully you've been having a good year like I have this year. All right, as always, we end off the newscast with the newscast Q&A. You can send in your questions to newscast@joeysretrohandhelds.com, or there's a newscast Q&A channel on the Discord. You can send it in through there. You can also send in news stories if you want to that channel. It serves dual purposes. I use it for that, but you can send in questions or news stories. It's up to you. First question comes in from Mash Ketchum. What is your favorite dual screen front end for $0? I don't have one. I don't use a front end. I guess a lot of people like Cocoon. I guess there's a few other options. I don't know. I guess I still use Daigisho often sometimes, but I don't use a front end at all. So I don't have an answer for this. I just haven't cared enough to install one or play around with them because all that time I could just spend playing a game instead. That's where I go. Next question comes in from Draven. Did you or do you have a go-to team in each generation of Pokemon? And if so, what was it? For example, I tended to drift towards the same team in Red and Blue. Lapras or Articuno, Haunter or Gengar, Snorlax, Scyther, Kadabra, Alakazam, Nidoking, or Gyarados. Was always in until I got Lapras though. And Mewtwo replaced Alakazam when I allowed legendaries. Old question, what would be your dream team of Pokemon any gens? There's a lot of questions in one question. I will do Pokemon Generation 1. Squirtle and the evolutions, of course. I always pick up a Pikachu that usually gets replaced with a Zapdos at some point in the future. I do always try and grab Abra as earliest as I can, and that just becomes a Kadabra. What is that? 1, 2, 3, I think. What else do I usually grab? In Pokemon Yellow, it's easier because I do grab Bulbasaur and Charmander, and I use them. But in regular Gen 1, Ghastly and Haunter, usually Haunter, which would be 4, I guess, and I'm leaving 2 out. I think I usually leave Mewtwo would be 1, definitely by the end. And probably Legendary Bird, I think, is what I do. I am pretty boring that way. Scyther sometimes comes in because it's one of my favorite Pokemon, but he's never that great. I don't know. Maybe I use him wrong, but he's never that great because it's a bug Pokemon and just gets destroyed. But Scyther is one of my favorite Pokemon, so I try and catch him when I can. Otherwise, yeah, that's kind of it. I'm kind of boring that way. But yeah, let me know. Oh, I guess I do grab Pidgey quite often for flying until I get the Legendary Bird. So Pidgey stays in for quite a while. Last question of the day comes in from Super Bottle. What would be more dangerous, being in a room with a pack of hyenas who haven't eaten in a week, trying to physically stop a retro handheld buyer on his way to buy his 5th 3566 level device, using Klarna checkout, of course? Super Bottle sounds a little mad here. I would never, ever, ever, ever step in the way of a retro handheld purchaser trying to buy another retro handheld that they don't need. You shouldn't watch my Ambernick RG Rotate video, which a lot of people thought was a review. It's not a review. I would say it's a review. It would say review somewhere. It's a quick look. I've been doing quick looks on devices that I don't care much about. I'll do reviews on devices that matter, but the RG Rotate was just a quick look. So it's not a review. But anyways, those are my questions and answers. If you want to send them in, send them in. I appreciate you all for watching. And that's all from me, Waltham, Massachusetts.